Hey, come on. Come on. Hey. What? Here we go, here we go, here we go now. Hey. Let's chit chat, this is the show now. Come on. Bad black mama's gonna let you know now. Hey. Here we go, here we go, here we go now. Come on. Let's chit chat, let's chit chat, hey. Let's chit chat, sis. Hey, what's up? Let's chit chat, let's chit chat, let's chit chat, sis. Hey.
So we gonna move this along because this episode is Chauncey's, and she came up with this one. It's a really good one.
Yes.
Twisted words, and just what it says. Twisted words. Twisted words.
Twisted words. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. And you ladies know I love to be on location. I'm always somewhere other than
On location.
other than where I need to be. But yeah, I think twisted words, and not even on purpose, kind of goes along with what you all were talking about. Words matter, right?
Right.
And so I've always been a firm believer of say what you mean and mean what you say. And so even in disagreements or even in arguments, I've always had enough wherewithal to be careful about what I say, because once it comes out, you can never take it back.
And
Well,
so,
that being the case, and not necessarily, semantics, but yeah, semantics
Mhm.
is what I said, what you heard.
Ooh.
Okay. I have seen and I have experienced being in an argument, a disagreement,
Mhm.
because what I said and what you heard is not the same thing. And so when people twist your words, or they feel a certain type of way of from something that you said and that wasn't your intent. Sometimes people do it inadvertently. Sometimes people do it all the time. I've run into people, no matter what I say, they misconstrue what it is that I'm saying. And I'm like, am I speaking another language? Am I not being careful enough? What is it? And why do people do that? And so, but really, what about relationships? When you think about two significant others, and one person says something and then the other person is just always offended. I'm like, well, why is it that you're always offended by what I say? And so that's what made me think of it. And so when I listened to the podcast that you ladies did the other day regarding words matter, that was so good, wasn't it?
It was. It was a good. I was like, talk. I missed that episode.
No, I was like, dang, I wasn't on that episode.
Y'all funny.
But just being deliberate in what it is. Like I said, I think in my lifetime, I can count on one hand, I think, if I've tried to say something on purpose to hurt someone's feelings.
Yeah.
And I've always felt bad afterwards. And then as a kid, always being the one who wasn't understanding. My mom used a lot of big words and stuff like that. So my brother had to translate for me sometimes. And so as I got older, because I was the one who didn't always understand, I made sure everybody is clear on what I say. My favorite line from the movie Philadelphia with Denzel Washington, explain it to me like I'm a 6-year-old.
Right.
And when I was in school, even, I was a journalism major, and we were taught to, when you're telling a story, you're writing a story, do it on a level that the entire audience can understand. You know what I mean? So, and because I do that, when I see that others don't do it, it just kind of sits in my claw a little bit. And so that's what made me think of the topic. And I had some coworkers recently who kind of went at it because of the tone of the email.
Oh yeah, that'll get you every time.
Okay. And so it was the tone. And so then one person was on the defense from the beginning. And so they never got a resolution to the issue because it was everything else except for what they were talking about.
So let me ask you a question, Chauncey. You probably have dealt with this in life. I think I've dealt with it in life. Keisha, you probably have too, because it's just the interaction that you have with people. Do you think that it's because people overthink that makes them take your words into another perspective?
Sometimes they're not ready to handle the truth.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, oh,
Ooh,
yeah.
that part.
Sometimes they want to hear what they want to hear. And then I was thinking about when you was talking about how some people just always, you met a person that always twisted up your words. And I looked up that definition, and it's actually a word for a person who's like that. And I hope I pronounce it right, but it's called a sophist. And that's a person who, a sophist, SOPHIST. And it's described as a person who twists the facts to their advantage.
And a narcissist.
Yeah, and it also had narcissistic people. But I also thought about in the larger scale, and what the example that came to my mind was Colin Kaepernick. When he kneeled, he said, "I'm kneeling for social justice, for police brutality." But what did the spin say? That it was against the
flag and
the service people who were in the service. It was a total different meaning. So that was like the spin. And then I found out that in news media, they do it all the time. The story or the sound bite.
Right.
The story. So yeah, so I was like, oh, this is a very interesting topic. But yeah, some people can't handle the truth.
And I love the word that you just shared with us. So I'm gonna definitely take that note and kind of do some more research on that. And so, but that's exactly what I'm talking about, right? So what is it if I say something to you, and again, you hear something totally different, or you make it other than what I actually said? What is that?
And somebody just hard-headed.
Because the thing, now I understand tone, right? Sometimes it's the way you say it versus what you said. Or, as couples, like I said, we get into disagreements, but we have to be mindful that does the disagreement, is it about the topic, or now is it about the way that we said it and how we approached
the delivery,
it? It's the delivery of it. And so then now the argument is about something completely different. You ever argue with your spouse and be like, what were we arguing about again?
I think I do that more with Keith than he does with me, because when I try to say something to him sometimes when it's a disagreement, I'm talking about a topic, you know what I mean? Not an incident, okay? So if he just keeps saying it to me, but I didn't even do nothing today. You didn't hear nothing. You know what I mean? I didn't do nothing.
You say you didn't do nothing today, Kim.
I didn't do nothing today. And that makes me really heated. But to go back to what you say, Chauncey, I think that a lot of times, and people intentionally don't listen because they're too busy ready to respond. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they miss everything, I was telling this girl at work that it's a really good skill to listen. You know what I mean? You don't have to be the first person to get your opinion out all the time, because you're going to miss something. But I just saw this other coworker come up and was asking questions. I sat quietly and I just was listening. And after she left, she was talking to another coworker. Then she came to me and she was like, I wonder what that was all about. I said, well, what it was all about was that we were over here making loud noises, and she needed to have an introduction to come in to find out what we were doing. You know what I mean? Besides work, I said, because she said a couple things when she came in, I mean, that I picked up, but I said nothing. Then she said a couple things acting. I said, and it all related to, I'm over here to see why y'all making so much noise, because you're disturbing the peace over here, if it's only 4 people in the building. But
wow.
It's just, I think that people don't want to hear because they want to make it about themselves. You know what I mean? They don't want to hear anything you really have to say. And then by the time you do hear it, you done missed it and you done caused another thing. Before
That's called a defense mechanism.
Yeah. But I do think that people do need to do, if you're not speaking or you're just sending something in a email or a text message, you need to know how to have etiquette when sending things. You know what I mean? Because if I read something and it's got these exclamation points, and I guess I'm just old school, exclamation points, everything is in caps and stuff. I think
Yeah.
you're upset. Yeah, you're upset.
Mhm.
And I'm going to take it that way. Like, I need you to get here now. And maybe the person is laughing, you know, when they sent it. When I see it, I'm like, the hell? What's wrong with that? You know, talking to me for it like that. You know, even, I don't know, y'all tell me too. Chauncey, do you it happens with your kids because they're in a different age bracket and you have to talk to
So what I generally tend to do is I'm in a habit of texting to the kids to say, this is too much for text. Give me a buzz when you have a moment.
That's good.
And I do that to a lot of people just because please don't text me a soliloquy. I don't. I mean, it just, who has the time? It's easier to just go back to talking, right?
Exactly.
And then if you have to use long words, this deep conversation in the text, then you need to have an actual conversation. Text is supposed to be short. Now, do I get irritated by the shortened words because shortened words don't really shorten the word, and I don't understand the acronyms and all? Just text what you need to text. But now that we have voice memo or what, just speak it and send it. I can even deal with that a little bit better. But now that's a reminder that everyone doesn't speak clearly. So then there's a whole nother topic. But yeah, so with the kids, I raised them because, again, I was that confused child. So I raised them in a way that I did explain things, right? And so my mom used to say, you explain to the kids too much. And I'm like, well, Mom, I do that because I remember when I didn't understand. Right. So I don't want them to be in that way. But then I started being accused of talking to everybody like they were slow. And you know what I mean by slow. So I was like, well, did you understand? Yes. So then now you offended because I'm talking to you like you're slow when I just want you to understand and have clarity. So yeah, that's kind of how it came to be for me. The topic came to be. And it was funny because my husband and I had a disagreement. And like I said, at the end, I was kind of like, what were we arguing about? And then he was like, yeah, because you said blah, blah. I'm like, but that's not what I said, sweetheart. And he goes, yes, it is. No, it's not. He said, well, that's what you meant. No, it's not what I meant.
Especially if the person tell you that's not what I meant. Like, yo, come on now.
I felt like you meant this, but I said what I meant. And we've been together long enough that you should know.
So you know what is, some people hear it through a filter, and just like what you just described was a filter. You said this, but I filtered it out and I heard that, and that's what it meant to me.
Yeah. So then that's why I said people can be on the defense. So imagine if, okay, so for instance, you know, if he's at work. And maybe he needs to be on defense at work because that is something that they do. Now you bring it home and it becomes an issue for you and I, when it's really not an issue between you and I. I am your spouse. I say what I mean what I say.
Mm-hmm. And see, in my situation, because I'm giving orders all day long, and I am really talking to people, little people, then I have a tendency to make everything like I'm barking it out. And I don't mean that per se, but I'm so used to like, okay, this is what needs to be done. Do this, this, and this. And not really realize that I'm really not talking to you, but talking at you. You know, you know what I'm saying?
That's a good one.
So that's a good observation. That's a good self-reflective observation, right? And the fact that you admit to that, I think we all could do better if we would admit that that's what our flaws are. And that's where we lack. My flaw is if while you're talking, I'm listening, but now you make this point and then I get defensive about it. Now I want to react right then and not let you finish and cut you off. And so I have done that to my spouse, and that's what I have worked on and not doing. Let you finish, let you get everything out, And yeah, if that means I got to take mental note or take an actual note, because what you said, because you might be talking for 15 minutes and my menopause don't work that way, I might forget. But yeah, I do want to address that, especially if I feel like what you said wasn't my intention. I can't change the way you feel. How you feel is how you feel. But if my intention was not to have you feel that way, then I feel the need to explain that and defend that.
Well, you hit on something really pertinent, Chauncey. When I think sometimes and we all have spouses, I think sometimes our jobs bring us into another ideology when we think about our relationships with our spouses. Like for what I do, I deal with a lot of legalities, and you have to be a dominant personality to do what I do. You see what I'm saying? And because of that, I think that my spouse sometimes automatically puts all of our situations in that. Oh, well, you do this and you doing this and you doing this and that, and you said this and said that, but I didn't say that, okay? Because you didn't listen. And that's why you're sitting up here saying that I said that and I didn't say that. Maybe you heard me on the phone in other rooms saying that, and you're dragging it over here to get yourself clear of what you did over there.
Let's see how you saying that, Kim. You didn't listen.
But yes, I do that because I do it. I will wait till he just get all of it out, and then I'm going to break it down. You know what I mean? Because I'm telling you, if you do not listen clearly, and then you want to put all these scenarios together to this scenario, then yeah, I'm going to do just like you. I'm going on the defense, but I'm going to let you get it out, all of it out. Because when I start going into this, that, and that, then you just going to be like, okay, well, we'll just talk about it later. Oh, now you don't want to be a communicator. You don't want to talk. Okay.
Or mine is the one where you ask me and I tell you, and then you're like, that's just an excuse. No, you asked me. You're giving me excuse. I'm not giving you excuse. You asked me. If you asked me, then I should be able to respond. But if you really don't want an answer and you just want to, I call them drive-bys. If you just want to just say something with no reaction, that's a drive-by to me.
It is.
So just go on and do your drive-bys, and I can either react or not react. But or if you're venting, say that you're venting, and then I know that no response is required. And it's not personal, right? And I'm going to be quiet.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I do that with the kids a lot. I'll say, "Are you venting, or do you want my advice?" And they'll be like,
"Oh, that's a good one."
Yeah, I want your advice. Okay, so now when you tell it, don't be upset, because the first reaction might be that of your parent. And then your friend. I'll help you figure it out, but don't be mad at me if my first reaction is that of your mother.
Right.
Okay. And then we can figure out the rest from there. Just allow me that grace to be your parent. And then now, if you just want to vent, I ain't judging. It's a safe space. Say whatever it is you have to say, and I'll listen. And then we can get off the phone.
So one more question, Chauncey, because I think that we hit a lot of good points. Friendships. Okay. So we have friendships, we have sisterhoods, and they run into this type of dilemma too, with not understanding, what a person is saying, what a friend is saying. Do you have like, what is you and Keisha's feel on that? Because I know that I have, like, y'all are in my circle, but then I have people that are my friends too. Some people are just people that I'm associated with. It's a difference,
Okay.
But when you run into the part where you have friends and you consider them your dear friends, and you run into this communication problem, because it is a communication problem when you don't listen. You see what I'm saying?
Well, I can say that I have been fortunate enough to not to have that situation happen to me with my dear friends.
Correct.
I can't really, speak to that personally. I've just been fortunate enough to have it. And I know sometimes we go through periods where we don't get to talk to each other, like months, and that's because of life. But when we talk to each other, I said, I know I've I would say, I'll be the first one to say, I've been a bad friend. How are you doing? Because I haven't, spoken to you in a while. And we just catch up just like nothing. But we've never had a problem. Never. I can say I've never, and I have 3 very, very close friends, never had a situation where we that happened.
So I'm just like Keisha. And I think that the reason why we're in each other's circles and we are friends is because we don't have that issue.
Right.
Now,
Exactly.
it's where I thought we could become friends. And because of this issue, Kim,
Uh-huh.
we are no longer friends because they don't communicate well.
Right.
Everything is an argument. Everything is a battle, or what I said is not what you heard. So then why are we even talking? Do you understand? So in that aspect, yeah, I've been blessed as well. However, there are family members that are like that. There are family members that are like that. And so I have found that I can only have surface conversations with them. I can't really have anything deep and meaningful with them because they don't understand what I'm saying.
And that's all right. You know what I mean?
And
that's
it's okay.
Right.
And that's
okay.
That's okay. Everybody, you can't choose. You can choose your friends, but you can't choose your family. So sometimes you got to put them over there in that little section over there. And
so in our discipleship,
hey, how you doing?
You've been on discipleship class with Dr. Deborah and stuff before. That's one of the things that she speaks to all the time. She speaks to the fact that you need to have good listening skills. The best part of communication is the listening skills. And so if you're, like you said, Kimmy, she's always said, if you're ready to respond before that person has even finished, then you're not hearing what they're saying.
Listen, can I add something to that? Listening skills to help the person, not to use it against them at a later time.
Yep. Because when they do that, they take the words, you might have even said the words, but they put a completely different meaning on it because they've twisted them to fit the agenda that they have. And so, go ahead.
Go ahead, Chauncey.
No. So when they twist it to fit the agenda that they have, then you're kind of like, that's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. That's not what we said. That's not what I said. That's not how I said it. How did you get that from that?
Right.
And that's the question I've, like I said, I've battled over the years with some people, whether it's work, personal, or whatever, to come to a conclusion. And like I said, I'm succeeding within the marriage to do it because, again, I see my part, I slow down, I listen, and I don't always take it personally. If I'm listening to take it as a constructive criticism or whatever, then it's okay. But sometimes it's not personal. A person is sharing it with you. You might feel it's personal, but how they're giving it to you is not the intent.
I think you hit on I love this episode because I think that when people listen to it, the biggest thing they can take away is being able to self-identify what you do. You know what I mean? I always think about when I'm at this space now in life, but I wasn't always there because I think that my daughter was actually the one that told me I was the one that was listening to respond. You know what I mean? And I think we do that with kids because we already put ourselves on this upper echelon that they don't know. You know what I mean? But I learned a lot from her by her telling me this. And what it taught me was that I do have really good listening skills, but I also need to listen and give people grace. You know what I mean? Because if you don't do that, you're automatically going to go on the defense because you're looking for something. You know what I mean? You're looking for something to be wrong. You know what I mean? So I'm still in that walk. Everybody's probably in that walk.
We all are.
Yeah. We want to have good relationships. I think when they say, okay, well, this person likes to deal with conflict, I don't think nobody really wants to deal with conflict unless you just something else is going on. You know what I mean? Your life. But that's my feel on it. You know, Chauncey, you wrap it up the way you want, but I really love how this just nailed a lot of self-identification of what you may do in a conversation to twist the words.
And so I think that in conclusion, that's exactly what it is, right? How are you using your words? And then how are you absorbing the words that are being shared with you?
Mm-hmm.
Are you on the defense? Are you ready for a fight? Are you ready for something negative?
Yeah.
And so I think in having a positive outlook, and you can take any situation and make it good and make it positive with anything someone says to you other than what's obviously, derogatory, but
Right.
you can turn around and make it positive all in your attitude and how you're receiving it.
Mhm.
So just when it's your most important relationships, just take a moment to just be in the moment, receive it for what it's worth, and then ask. Don't assume. If it's something you don't understand or you feel like it's negative, repeat it back to that person to say, so what I hear you saying is, and then when you do that, that's their opportunity to clarify, and then you'll know if that was the intent or
Right.
what do you think? What do you
Well
ladies
said. Well said.
Well said.
Nothing else to say.
Well
That-
said. Yeah.
that's
I
it.
think, yeah. Again, thank you, Chauncey, because this was a really good episode. Well, I always say all the episodes are good, but this was a really good episode. And I think that the ability to take an episode and use it as a teachable moment is what we're here really to do. You see what I'm saying?
For
Some of our
sure.
episodes are hilarious and fun or whatever, but the ultimate goal is to help people in their journeys. You know what I mean? Because
Right.
you're not always going to be right. You may need some guidance here and there, and to hear from someone else's perspective and to be able to absorb it is the goal. So thank you again.
Oh,
And
no, thank you.
yeah, that was awesome. So any final words? Oh,
No, again, it just shows that it's confirmation. Sometimes you get convicted and confirmation that the episode that we just had on, we released this past week, that this is kind of like a footnote to that, right?
Yes, it is. Very much so.
Definitely a footnote to it. So I love the platform that we have. I love being able to share it. And we're not here to fix or solve the world's problems, but it's just to give people a little food for thought and to just
absolutely.
help along your way in any given day. So we thank everybody for always listening and participating and giving us feedback. And as usual, you can reach us on any particular platform that we have, whether it's Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. We're everywhere, aren't we?
We are everywhere.
We are everywhere.
I can't even name some of those podcasting, platforms that we're on, but we're on it. Yeah.
We're on it for sure. So yes, we again, we appreciate all of you, and just take the time to listen to each and every one that you come across, and be present in the moment.
All right. So joining me today is
Chauncey.
And Keisha.
and I'm Kimmy. So have a wonderful week on purpose, and we'll see you next Wednesday. Take care.